Sure.
All right. Could you please state your first and last name?
Matthew Courtney.
All right. And could you please list your affiliation with the U.S. Marine Corps?
I was a Marine from 1991 to 1998 on active duty. I was an infantryman, along with several other things, marksmanship coach and riverine assault craft crewman. And in 2002 to 2005, I went back into the Marine Corps Reserve, and I was an infantry patrol leader in Iraq during 04 and 05.
Okay, so thank you first and foremost, because I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for you, for the men and women just like you who are fighting for our freedom.
Freedom of speech, right?
Just freedom, period.
Yeah, lots to it.
Freedom, period. So
Appreciate the support we've gotten from everybody back home. We wouldn't be doing what we were doing unless we believed in what we've got back here. Make it worth it to do it.
Okay, so why did you join?
I joined the Marine Corps because I don't know. I didn't pay a lot of attention in high school. Didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up, and didn't apply myself in high school to go on to college. Just wasn't interested in it. But the military was always something that I looked at as a kid, as an opportunity for me. And initially I didn't score high enough to go into what I thought I wanted to be, which was the Army, and I didn't score high enough. I wasn't applying myself. I turned around and retook the test and went back. Was approached by a Marine Corps recruiter, and they said, hey, you can do anything you want in the Marines. What do you want to be? And I said, well, I want to be infantry. And this is after a short stint with the Navy where when I was looking at the services, I had a Navy recruiter approach me and, hey, we've got this thing called the Basic Underwater Demolition UDT program, which is the precursor to the SEALs. And I looked at them for a short period, but the Marines said, you don't have a chance in heck of becoming a SEAL. Why don't you just join us? It's like, all right. So there I went.
Okay. So you were in Iraq, and where did you go overseas?
I was in Okinawa, Panama, Thailand during my normal 1991 to 98, Okinawa, Panama, and Thailand. Stationed in Hawaii, stationed in North Carolina. And then after 9/11, after I'd gotten out of the Marine Corps and I was working locally at a factory, I felt this was an opportunity for me to go serve my country and find out if I had what it took to do what I'd been taught. It was the big game, although it was by no way, shape, or form a game, but it was the opportunity to go out and do what we had trained for. So in 2002, after 9/11, I immediately called the Marine recruiter and said, hey, what do I got to do to get back in? 3 months later, January 19th of 2002, I got back in the Marine Corps with a reserve unit in Des Moines, Iowa. And then in February of 2004, we found out we were going to Iraq, and we actually headed to Iraq September 14th of 2004, and we came home in March of 2005. We left the day that the President Reagan died, and we came home the day the Pope died. So that was kind of how some of the significant events that were going on when we left and when we came home.
Oh, wow.
And I was in a place called Al Mahmadiyah, which is about 20 kilometers south of Baghdad. And south of that was, about another 20 kilometers south of that was Lutafia. And to the west of us was Yusufia, and they called that the Sunni Triangle of Death. Major Sunni Shia friction in that area, and when they weren't killing each other, they were trying like heck to kill us. So.
Okay. All right. So today, why I'm here is today, February 2nd, it
Yeah.
has been declared Chris Kelly Day.
Chris Kyle Day?
I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
My bad.
No, I understand.
Today, I knew
Yeah.
it was K. Today was declared Chris Kyle Day.
And that's a noteworthy thing to remember.
And why should we remember that?
I read the book. A friend of mine, a fellow coworker, gave me the book after he read it. I had not heard of Chris Kyle. Immediately I read it, and I think it was one of the fastest books I've ever read in my life. I mean, like a week, and I had that thing put down, which for some people is a long time. For me, that's pretty darn quick. But I had not heard of Chris, but while we were in Iraq and while Operation Phantom Fury, which he was a part of in Fallujah, while that was going on, we were in a blocking position south of there as one of our units that got hit hard in Yusufia, right around Veterans Day 2004. And we were hearing about somebody up in Fallujah that was inflicting heavy casualties on the enemy in the capacity of a sniper. And initially, I remember it as being as a Marine, but you know, the word isn't always passed accurately over there. It could have been Kyle people were talking about. But why should it be Chris Kyle Day? Because that man made an impact. Not only did he make an impact on the battlefield, but when he came home, he wrote a book about the milestone that he had accomplished by being coined one of the most deadly military sniper ever. And you know, then he went out on a media campaign promoting his book, and this is all while behind the scenes back at home he is helping out fellow veterans recovering from post-traumatic stress syndrome or whatever they came home from the battlefield with. So Chris was doing some pretty amazing things from what I've heard, what I've read, what I've seen, and for him to have been killed by a Marine, you know, in my case, a fellow Marine, or to have been killed by a veteran that came home with some pretty significant challenges, that's just, it's absolutely tragic. Here, Chris was trying to help service members, guys who had been through the same thing he had, and one of them turns on him. So, I have not watched the movie. I read the book, but from what I've heard in talking to people is that movie touched them by allowing them an eye-opening perspective of what it's like to be in combat, and more so what it's like to come home. What it's like to be that person back at home as Taya, his wife, to have a child on the way while in combat, not see that child born. That's an incredible experience.
Okay, so you were saying that you were pretty much in the same place as Mr. Kyle while y'all were over there.
Chris was in Fallujah, and my unit was south of Fallujah, 30 kilometers or so. But as Fallujah kicked off, as Operation Phantom Fury kicked off, and prior to it kicking off, the insurgents were squirting out and trying to get away from 6 battalions of Marines coming in to clear the city of their presence. So these insurgents were trying to get out of there, those that didn't want to stand and fight, and a group of them ran into one of our units in Yusufia.
And what happened?
There was a heck of a firefight that ensued. Casualties on our side, casualties on their side, and quick reaction force was deployed, which I was part of, and it was a mess. I mean, it's war.
Okay, so during your time there, what was your role?
I was a part of the 2nd Battalion, 24th Marines, and specifically I was a patrol leader in Echo Company 224, and my job, I was the platoon guide when we went over there. When we got to Iraq, the role of a guide was more of an administrative posture, and I had no desire to go to Iraq and be an admin person. So I was able to convince my fellow squad leaders and patrol leaders and my unit. We went to our command and said, hey, there's an opportunity to break down the traditional 3-squad platoon element into a 4-squad or 4 patrol element. And we went out almost daily and did counter IED ambushes. We did IED sweeps. We went door to door, doing just knock on the door, find out who's in the house, or we do more aggressive things and go into the houses and find who was in there if they weren't supposed to be there. Because I had been trained as a scout sniper back in the 90s, one of the things I was tasked with by our commanding general had a policy that any Marines in Iraq in 2004 and 2005, every Marine unit would have guys assigned to a position called Guardian Angel. And Guardian Angels, our job was to get to the higher ground and provide overwatch for our units that were moving through the streets below, and report back what was going on, coordinate from that with that bird's eye view, and do other things if necessary. I was not in Iraq as a scout sniper by any means. I had that opportunity and I turned it down, because going to Iraq at 30 years old, humping around a 100-pound pack and a 15 to 30-pound rifle in 130 degrees when there's a bunch of young lance corporals and corporals in a whole lot better shape than I was, I left that up to them. But I was able to use some of the things I knew from being a scout sniper to help employ those scout snipers and try to get them into more effective positions once we got there.
Okay, so your role was a guardian angel.
And a patrol leader.
And a patrol
And a
leader.
patrol leader, yep.
So you have to keep a bird's eye view of the people below you, of the guys below you, guys and women below you. Okay, so it sounds like your position is kind of similar to what a sniper would do. Like you're a guardian angel, like you, angels are up above.
I was a guardian, I was a guardian angel when we went out on larger maneuvers, larger operations. Most of the time I went out in 8 and 9-man patrols, and we just did the counter IEDs, the information collection and vehicle checkpoints and stuff like that. But when we went out on sometimes platoon-sized elements of 40 guys or more, or when we went out in the 150-plus size operations, then a lot of the time I was tasked as taking a guardian angel element out, and that's 4 to 6 guys providing the overwatch.
Okay, so after you read the book, what did you do?
Book was given to me in 2012, spring I think it was. After I read the book, I was just blown away by the way that book touched me about Chris being such a humble individual in combat and when he came home. The book's amazing. It talks about Chris being a member of a SEAL team, sea, air, and land. And Chris joked around in the book that he was not so much about the sea, he didn't like to swim, and he had no reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, so he considered himself more of the L of the SEAL acronym. And I thought that was funny, and his guys commented back about how Chris got out all this other stuff, but always did the L portion whenever it came up. What was the question again?
What did you do?
What did I do about after I read the book? After I read the book, there's a portion in the book when it talked about Chris being in one of his overwatch positions in Fallujah, one of his sniper positions, and seeing Marines being killed left and right as they were kicking doors in and clearing the bad guys out of these houses. Chris came down out of his position, called the squad, called the unit he is providing overwatch over, and gave him a quick, in military terms, a period of instruction on how to be a little bit more effective as they're going into a house and hopefully not suffer as many casualties. And I just thought, that was amazing that was part of that Marine Navy combined arms ethos that we have, for him to step back, help these guys out, and that hit me. So into the book, it talks about Chris creating this company called Craft International. I did a quick Google search and I found Craft International. I thought, what the heck? I'd give them a call. I called several times and talked to a receptionist or a secretary. I think finally the gal started recognizing this guy from Quincy, Illinois, this knucklehead Marine that kept calling back, and she said, hey, why don't you email him? His email's on the website. Email him. He gets to all of his emails in time. I said, okay, she's got me off her back. I'll kick this email out. And I invited him to come up to the Fishing for Freedom big fishing event that we have every summer. And I also invited him to come up and be a part of the Great River Honor Flight World War II End of an Era banquet that we were having in June of 2012. And I expressed how his book had touched me and how cool I thought that a SEAL, what that must have meant to a bunch of Marines on the ground to have a SEAL come down and say, hey guys, let's try this. I expressed that to him in an email, sent it off, got it off my chest, thought, I'll never hear anything back. Then out of nowhere, 2 weeks, 6 weeks later, I get an email back, and it was just as humble and interesting as the book was. And I think for sure it was Chris kicking back that email, and the guy was just cool. He commended me for my work with Fishing for Freedom and the Honor Flight, and just as I had said, dude, you're doing amazing things with what you're doing to help out the veterans. So it was really neat to have that opportunity. And then 9 months later to hear on the news that he had been killed by a Marine suffering post-traumatic stress syndrome was about took me off my feet. About like losing somebody when they have that kind of impact on you. So.
And ultimately, what would you like for people to know and understand just about what you've done, what Chris done, what all of y'all do? What would you like for people to know and understand?
I haven't seen the movie. What Clint Eastwood and Brad Cooper and the folks that were involved in that movie and Chris's family, they asked that he be portrayed as as one of us. Although he's a SEAL, he's a human like the rest of us. Got up every morning, put his pants on, went to work. And when he came home, he continued to do that. And he put a touch on it to where he was helping veterans. And my personal opinion, and what I hope other veterans, when you come home, you continue to do that. You continue to reach out to your community, reach out to your fellow veterans and help them out, because not everybody comes home. No one comes home the way they left. And the civilian population doesn't understand that typically. Folks can be home watching the news, reading the books, reading the newspaper, and have a very little understanding of what goes on day to day in combat. And from what I understand, this book has really opened some people's eyes to what it's like to be the person going down range and the individual that comes back, and what those folks that are left at home go through. So, and I think Chris has accomplished that, and that's, as veterans, we got to take care of each other. It's what we're taught to do, leave no man behind, and it doesn't end when you take the uniform off. You're a marked person. You're a veteran for life. If you're a combat veteran, you have a bond a little bit different than everyone else.
And my last question. Some people love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't. Some people are not calling Chris a hero.
Right.
What do you think about that? What do you have to say about that?
I've heard that Michael Moore called snipers in general cowards, and that Seth Rogen, or whatever that idiot's name is called snipers, cowards. And I understand why they're saying that, because as a sniper, you stand off 100 yards, 200 yards, or 1,000+ yards, and you take a shot at someone that may never have the opportunity to know you're there. I don't agree with that statement whatsoever. A sniper is a force multiplier, which means one sniper on the battlefield and the enemy knowing that there could be a sniper out there saves lives. There's a whole lot more to being a sniper than a guy pulling the trigger. A good sniper has been psychologically evaluated to be able to hold up under pressure, and after the shot is taken, to not be of that mass murder mentality. You have to live with the decision to pull that trigger every time you do.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say or add, sir?
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the chance.